Hi, this is Russell Oakes. I'm the Customer Services Manager at Box Telematics, and I'm going to take you through some of the aspects of SPOTON tracking software. This video will be mainly about the reports that are available on the left-hand side of the screen within the SPOTON fleet area. I'll take you through them one by one and explain what each report is. So, our first report on the left-hand side is the daily activity report. Now, as you may have seen on the previous video, when I showed journeys, journeys was the breakdown of what the vehicle had done during that particular period. This is giving you that same kind of information really. So all of the events that you would have seen on the journeys are going to be here as well, including the same information: journey start, journey end, duration, distance travelled, time parked, driver, where it departed from and where it arrived at. It does, however, summarise it at the bottom with some totals information there, so you can see how long they're driving for that day, for an hour and 12 minutes, total distance travelled, and a summarisation of the information. And it's broken down as daily activity, so you've got Friday, Monday, Tuesday. If you do have weekend journeys, you can turn on from the options button up here. You can do include weekends as well as a few other options on there. So then you can also see where they're driving, if they drive over the weekends, if they have access to the vehicles. And that report is fairly basic. I mean, that's exactly what it shows. It's the same information from the journeys section of the main screen, presented in a bit more of a friendly manner. You can print this off as a nice one-page report, and it's split it up into individual A4 pages for you. So then the next report we've got on the left hand side is the daily visits. The daily visits is actually the reverse of the daily activity as such. Rather than talking about where the vehicle left from and where it travelled to and how long that journey was, what it actually gives you is where the vehicle was and how long it was there for. So you can see for this one, it arrived at 8:08 in the morning and then departed this location at 12:19. And you can see the total time they were parked there, the driver at the time, the site visited if it's set up as a geofence, and then the location. So it gives you an idea of where your vehicles have been when they're not being driven and how long they've been left there. So if you've got scheduled stop-offs and they should only be there for 10 minutes at a time, you can see one that's been there for half an hour, and you can obviously question why. Otherwise, it's just a reverse of the journeys, and again it summarises at the bottom here. The next option is the timesheet. Now this breaks things down into basic information about the days themselves, so you can use this to try and match up against drivers' claimed timesheets if they fill in their own, and then you can produce this to try and match the information together. So what it gives you is the day, the date, and the start location and end location. Now this start and end location is rather than as on the previous reports, which was per journey, this is for the entire day. So his first journey on that day started off at 3 Blackwood Road, and the last journey ended at 3 Blackwood Road. So you'd assume that would be their home address. They're leaving from home in the morning and they're coming home at night. And then as a summarisation for that day, you can see the time that they started, so when they first left that location, and the time that it ended, which is when they got back there. The total time in between the two, and total time that they actually spent driving during that time. So for this kind of situation, they're just coming to our office, so they don't do that much driving. They spend a lot of time just in the office. But if you've got a fleet which is obviously driving around doing deliveries, things like that, that travelling time will be a lot higher. And then the total distance that they covered during that time as well. Again, summarises at the bottom, and gives you a nice printable sheet that you can use for writing any comments at the bottom and getting it signed off by the employee and by the manager. Now the next report is out of hours. Unfortunately, I won't actually be able to show you that report, but I can explain what would be on it. Out of hours is the ability to show when a vehicle has been used outside of a time that you've specified that it should be able to be used. Setting the operating hours of vehicles is something I'll come to on another video, but once those have been set up, you can say all my vehicles should only be driven between 8:30 in the morning and 5:30 in the evening. If any of the vehicles are driven outside of those times, so after 5:30, say, then they will show up in that report. So you'll see a list of vehicles, a list of the journeys that they did past the time that you specified. So then if you've got someone that's supposed to only use the vehicle for work purposes and they're using it at the weekend, it'll show up on that out of hours report, and you can obviously follow up on it. The late and early report, just like the out of hours, sorry, where we've got no data available, but there is a section within the fleet screen where you can actually set appointments for a vehicle. It's something I didn't show on the last one, but if you were to select vehicle appointments here, you can actually say, on this day I want the vehicle in question that's selected at the moment here to be at this particular location. You can give that appointment a description. Now, sorry, these locations are actually based off geofences again, so I keep mentioning them and we'll get to them. But if you've got a geofence set up, you can choose where they need to be, and then you can choose when they're supposed to get there and when they're supposed to leave there. And there's various alert options down here for receiving alerts, which is another section I'll show you, based on if they arrive there early, etc. But going back to our report, if you've set up some appointments and for whatever reason the appointment hasn't been met, either they've turned up late or they've left early, something along those lines, again you'll see some information on here. A lot of people don't really use that kind of system, but it is there if you want to utilize it. And then our other option here on the left is the mileage, and it shows the total amount of mileage covered for various types of journey types. So you've got business hours and private hours. Now, using our driver ID system, you can specify a Dallas key that can be presented to the vehicle before starting a journey to say whether it's a business or a private journey, and then it will log on here accordingly and within the other reports. So you can see this is how many business hours they've driven, how many private hours, which is 0 on this one, total hours, which would obviously be a sum of the two, and then again business miles, private miles. So if you've got someone that is allowed to use their vehicle for business and private use, you can see how much of one or the other they're using it for. Your total miles and the odometer, and then the date of the last journey. So just kind of an overview of what's been done with your vehicles over the period you selected in the date range. And then the last report is just the odometers, which scroll up, shows you just the odometers, the same information as on here, the odometer section, but again a nice easily printable format. Okay, so that covers the basic reports on that side. I'm going to go into the section on the next video regarding setting up scheduled reporting so that you don't have to do these kind of things manually, and showing you some of the admin sections of SPOTON. Otherwise, that's it for this one. Thanks.